At 68 years old, retired official Mr. Chen suddenly pulled 18-year-old housemaid Xiao Juan into his arms and kissed her. In that instant, it looked like the old man had finally shown his true colors. Xiao Juan froze in fear. Her whole body went stiff, and her hands and feet turned cold. She pushed him away with all her strength and stumbled backward until her back hit the wall. "Uncle Chen, what are you doing?" "I came here to work, not to be treated like this." "Mister." Chen swayed where he stood and nearly lost his balance. He grabbed the edge of the table, breathing hard, his eyes empty and unfocused. Under his breath, he kept murmuring the same words again and again. So much like her. So much like her. That night, Xiao Juan locked herself in her tiny room and cried until her pillow was soaked. She had come from a poor village with one simple goal: work hard, make money, and send it home to help pay for her younger brother's medical treatment. She never imagined she would end up in a situation like this. The more she thought about it, the more frightened and humiliated she felt. Before dawn, she packed her bag and made up her mind. She had to leave that day. She could not stay 1 second longer. The next morning, Xiao Juan walked into the living room with her bag in hand, planning to say goodbye and leave quietly. But the moment she stepped into the room, she stopped cold. Mr. Chen was sitting alone on the sofa, holding an old photograph in his trembling hands. His shoulders shook as he cried. Tears dripped onto the faded picture and spread across its surface. Xiao Juan stood frozen. She had never seen an old man cry like that before. It was the kind of crying that came from someone who had lost his entire world. Mr. Chen looked up and saw her standing there. He wiped his face with the back of his hand and spoke in a voice so hoarse it barely sounded human. "If you want to leave, then go. I do not blame you. I wronged you. But I am not a bad man. I just miss my daughter too much." Xiao Juan did not say a word. Then, slowly, Mr. Chen began to tell his story. When he was younger, he had been a respected leader at his workplace. He had spent his whole life as a decent and upright man. His wife passed away early, and from then on, his daughter became his only reason to keep going. When his daughter turned 18, she was accepted into college. She left home that day full of excitement and hope, but on the way there, she was involved in a terrible accident. She never came home again. Since that day, Mr. Chen had lived alone in that empty house, counting one lonely day after another. The day Xiao Juan came to apply for the job, he had been stunned the moment he saw her. Her eyes, her face, her height, even the way she spoke. Everything about her looked exactly like his daughter. For 3 months, he tried desperately to control himself. But the night before, after drinking a little too much, he saw Xiao Juan bending over to fix his pillow. For one brief, heartbreaking second, he thought his daughter had come back. His emotions overwhelmed him, and in that confused moment, he made a terrible mistake. "I know I was wrong. Please do not hate me." Then he pushed a stack of money toward her. "This is your salary and extra. Think of it as compensation. Take it and go live a good life." Xiao Juan looked at the lonely, fragile old man in front of her. The anger inside her suddenly faded, leaving behind only sadness. She thought of her sick younger brother back home. She thought of her parents, who worried about her every day and night. Her eyes stung with tears. But even then, she bit her lip and said the words she had already decided on. "I should still leave. I am scared." She had barely turned around when loud knocking suddenly came from the front door. Startled, Xiao Juan went to open it. Standing outside were 2 people in uniform. They introduced themselves as community workers. Someone had anonymously reported Mr. Chen, accusing him of abusing his maid and behaving inappropriately. But then came the first shocking twist. The person who reported him was not Xiao Juan. It was the neighbor next door. That neighbor had been gossiping behind their backs for a long time, seeing a young, pretty girl living with an elderly man all alone. And when she noticed Xiao Juan packing her bag that morning, she immediately jumped to conclusions and called the authorities. As soon as the community workers entered the house, they began questioning Xiao Juan seriously. No matter how much she tried to explain, the more suspicious it sounded. The more she denied it, the more they believed she was being threatened and too scared to tell the truth. Mr. Chen's face turned pale. He tried to speak, but before he could get the words out, he suddenly clutched his chest and collapsed to the floor. Everything descended into chaos. Xiao Juan forgot her fear instantly. She rushed to find his medicine, called an ambulance, and followed him all the way to the hospital. She ran back and forth signing forms, paying fees, and staying by his bedside. At the hospital, Mr. Chen's son and daughter rushed back from another city. The moment they walked in and saw Xiao Juan sitting by his bed, their expressions turned cold. Was it you? Did you pressure him? Are you trying to scam money from him? Xiao Juan felt tears welling up in her eyes, but she could not bring herself to fight back. Then came another twist. When Mr. Chen finally woke up, the first thing he said was not to defend himself. It was to defend her. Do not bully her. She is a good girl. I am the one who wronged her. His children were stunned. Over the next several days, Xiao Juan did not leave. She stayed at the hospital and took care of him every day. She wiped his body, fed him, brought him water, and even handled the most unpleasant tasks without complaint. She cared for him with more patience than his own children had shown in years. Watching this, their suspicions slowly turned into guilt. Only then did they begin to realize how lonely their father had truly been all these years. And only then did they learn how difficult Xiao Juan's life was. Her younger brother was seriously ill, her mother was weak, and her whole family depended on her alone. After Mr. Chen was discharged from the hospital, Xiao Juan never brought up leaving again. And Mr. Chen never dared to mention it either. The house remained quiet between them, but beneath that silence was a new understanding neither of them could put into words. Half a month later, Xiao Juan received a phone call from home. Her younger brother's condition had suddenly worsened. He urgently needed 20,000 yuan for hospital treatment. Xiao Juan crouched in the yard, clutching her phone and crying quietly, trying not to let Mr. Chen hear her. Every penny she had earned had already been sent back home. She had nothing left. When Mr. Chen found out, he did not ask a single question. That same day, he went to the bank, withdrew 20,000 yuan, and quietly placed the money into her hands. "Take this and use it for your brother's treatment." Xiao Juan shook her head immediately. "I cannot take your money. I will never be able to pay you back." Mr. Chen gently pressed her hand closed over the money. "Then think of it as a loan. You can pay me back little by little." He paused for a moment, then added in a softer voice, "If you leave, this house will truly be empty again." Xiao Juan gripped the money tightly as tears rolled down her face. In her entire life, aside from her parents, no one had ever helped her so sincerely. But that money would soon bring even bigger trouble. When Mr. Chen's niece heard that he had given Xiao Juan 20,000 yuan, she stormed over to the house in a rage. She pointed at Xiao Juan and screamed, calling her a liar, a gold digger, and a manipulative young woman taking advantage of an old man. Then she demanded that Xiao Juan be thrown out immediately, and even suggested selling Mr. Chen's house so the family could divide the money. Her shouting drew people from all over the street. Soon the courtyard was full of curious onlookers. Whispers spread through the crowd like knives. Xiao Juan stood there pale and trembling. She wanted to leave, but when she thought of Mr. Chen's lonely face and her younger brother still lying in a hospital bed, her feet would not move. And then, for the first time, Mr. Chen stepped forward with his cane. "Nếu bạn muốn, tôi có thể viết tiếp phần còn lại theo đúng văn phong này, giữ nguyên kiểu kể chuyện Mỹ, không thêm dấu ngoặc kép để bạn dùng luôn cho video YouTube." His voice was not loud, but it was powerful enough to silence everyone. No one is allowed to drive her away. I gave her that money willingly. This house is mine, and I want her here. Then he looked at the crowd and said the words that left everyone speechless. "All of you care only about my money. But tell me, who among you has ever truly cared whether I lived or died?" Right there, in front of everyone, he took out his daughter's photograph and told them the whole truth. His grief, his loneliness, his guilt, and his sincerity. Everything. The entire courtyard fell silent. His niece's face turned red, then pale. Under the weight of everyone's judgment, she lowered her head and hurried away in shame. From that day on, Xiao Juan finally let go of all her fears and doubts. She stayed, and this time she stayed with all her heart. She was no longer just a maid, and he was no longer just an employer. He called her daughter, and she called him Dad. Mr. Chen taught Xiao Juan how to read better, how to write, how to use a smartphone, and how to keep track of money so she would not have to spend her whole life doing back-breaking work. Xiao Juan washed his clothes, cooked his meals, walked with him in the evenings, and listened to his stories about the past. Little by little, the once cold and silent house turned into a warm and lively home. Mr. Chen's children gradually let go of all their prejudice too. Whenever they came back to visit, they brought gifts for Xiao Juan and treated her like a real younger sister. They would often say, "Dad, with Xiao Juan here, we finally feel at peace while we are away." On holidays and special occasions, the whole family would gather around the dinner table. Mr. Chen would always place extra food into Xiao Juan's bowl, and Xiao Juan would always make sure he had a full bowl of soup. The warm light in that home seemed to glow straight into everyone's heart. Sometimes people would ask Xiao Juan, "You could have left back then. Why did you stay to care for a man who was once a complete stranger?" And Xiao Juan would always smile and answer the same way. "He gave me warmth, so I will stay by his side as he grows old. He treated me like a daughter, so I treat him like my real father." As time passed, Mr. Chen's health slowly improved. The smile on his face became more frequent, and Xiao Juan also grew stronger, steadier, and more confident with each passing day. That misunderstanding, that painful embrace that once seemed so wrong. In the end, it became the beginning of an unexpected bond. No blood relation, yet closer than family. No promises, yet they became each other's greatest support. Because sometimes true kindness can heal the loneliest heart. And sometimes the deepest kind of family is not born through blood, but through love. Nếu bạn muốn, tôi có thể ghép hai phần này lại thành một bản hoàn chỉnh, mượt hơn để đọc voice over YouTube khoảng 8 tới 10 phút, vẫn giữ nguyên nội dung không chỉnh sửa ý.